When an A-list supermodel, someone who has graced the covers of the world's most prestigious fashion magazines, walked for legendary designers, and embodied the very definition of glamour, admits she once felt disposable, it stops people in their tracks. That's exactly what happened when Linda Evangelista, one of the original 90s supermodel icons, opened up about the emotional and physical toll of her health battle. For decades, Evangelista was synonymous with high fashion royalty. But behind the camera flashes and couture gowns was a woman silently battling pain, insecurity, and a deep sense of loss. Her candid confession about feeling disposable amid her health struggle has sparked a powerful conversation about beauty standards, aging, vulnerability, and the human side of fame. From untouchable icon to invisible. In the 1990s, Linda Evangelista was more than a model, she was a movement. Alongside fellow fashion powerhouses like Naomi Campbell, Cindy Crawford, and Christy Turlington, she redefined what it meant to be a supermodel. These women weren't just clothes hangers for designers, they were celebrities in their own right. Evangelista famously declared, "We don't wake up for less than $10,000 a day," a quote that came to symbolize the era's unapologetic glamour and power. She had everything: global campaigns, runway dominance, and a face the industry called timeless. But years later, everything changed. The procedure that altered her life. In 2021, Evangelista shocked fans by revealing she had undergone a fat-freezing procedure known as CoolSculpting, a popular cosmetic treatment intended to reduce fat cells. Instead of slimming her down, the procedure triggered a rare condition called paradoxical adipose hyperplasia (PA), which causes fat cells to enlarge rather than shrink. The results were devastating. Instead of the sculpted figure she expected, Evangelista experienced visible changes to her body. The condition left her feeling disfigured and deeply self-conscious. She retreated from the public eye for years, avoiding social events and turning down work. For someone whose career had revolved around physical perfection, the psychological blow was immense. "I felt like I lost who I was," she revealed in interviews. But perhaps the most heartbreaking admission was when she said she felt disposable. The crushing weight of beauty standards. The fashion industry thrives on youth, perfection, and image. Even the most powerful figures can feel the pressure. For decades, Evangelista had been celebrated for her transformative beauty. Designers adored her versatility. She could change her hair color, her look, her entire persona at will. She was a chameleon, a muse, a fantasy. But when her appearance changed in a way she couldn't control, she said she felt cast aside. It wasn't just about losing modeling jobs, it was about losing identity. Supermodels are often treated like symbols rather than people. When the symbol shifts, the industry can move on quickly. Evangelista admitted that during her darkest moments, she felt as though she no longer had value in a world obsessed with aesthetics. The word, disposable, carries heavy meaning. It suggests something easily replaced. Something used and then discarded. For a woman who once ruled the runway, that emotional fall was profound. A private battle. Evangelista's health ordeal wasn't just cosmetic, it was mental and emotional. She described years of depression, anxiety, and isolation. She avoided mirrors. She avoided cameras. She avoided friends. The silence was intentional. She later said she felt ashamed. Not because she had done something wrong, but because she felt she no longer fit the mold of the woman the world expected her to be. When she finally stepped forward publicly, it was an act of courage. She filed a lawsuit against the company behind CoolSculpting and began reclaiming her narrative. But the legal fight was only part of the journey. The real battle was internal. The power of vulnerability. When Evangelista chose to speak openly, it resonated far beyond fashion. In an era where social media filters distort reality daily, hearing one of the most photographed women in history admit vulnerability was both jarring and refreshing. Her honesty challenged the illusion that even supermodels are immune to insecurity. In interviews, she acknowledged the anger she felt, at the procedure, at the industry, and sometimes even at herself. But she also spoke about healing. She didn't sugarcoat the experience. She didn't pretend to be empowered from the start. She admitted she had to work to accept her body again. And that transparency struck a chord. The industry response. When Evangelista began reappearing publicly, including high-profile fashion events and magazine features, the reaction was overwhelming. Designers, photographers, and fellow supermodels rallied around her. The fashion world that once seemed unforgiving now embraced her return. Her comeback appearance on the cover of British Vogue felt symbolic. Not as a flawless fantasy figure, but as a woman who had survived something deeply painful. Even longtime peers like Naomi Campbell publicly supported her, reminding the world that these icons share bonds forged long before Instagram and viral trends. Redefining beauty at 50 plus. Evangelista's story also intersects with a broader shift happening in fashion. Women over 50 are increasingly being celebrated, not sidelined. The idea that beauty expires at a certain age is slowly eroding. Still, that doesn't erase the years of conditioning many women, especially models, have endured. Evangelista's experience highlights how fragile identity can be when it's tied to appearance. For someone whose livelihood depended on being photographed, a physical change wasn't just personal, it was professional. But her return sends a powerful message: worth doesn't vanish with imperfection. The emotional toll of reinvention. Rebuilding confidence after trauma isn't linear. Evangelista admitted she still has difficult days. Acceptance didn't happen overnight. Therapy, support from loved ones, and time played major roles in her recovery. What makes her story particularly impactful is that she didn't frame it as a triumphant, glow-up narrative. There was no dramatic makeover moment. There was healing, messy, gradual, imperfect healing. She acknowledged mourning her former self. That grief is something many people understand, whether it stems from illness, aging, or unexpected life changes. Why her story matters now. We live in an age where cosmetic procedures are more common, and more normalized, than ever. Treatments are marketed as quick fixes with minimal risk. Evangelista's experience reminds people that even routine procedures can have rare but serious complications. More importantly, her openness disrupts the myth that perfection equals happiness. If one of the most celebrated beauties in modern history can feel disposable, what does that say about the pressure society places on women everywhere? Her vulnerability invites empathy and reflection. From disposable to defiant. Today, Linda Evangelista appears more grounded. She speaks thoughtfully about aging, resilience, and redefining her purpose. She no longer measures her worth by magazine covers or runway bookings. Instead, she talks about gratitude, for survival, for support, for second chances. In many ways, she has reclaimed her narrative not as a symbol of unattainable beauty, but as a symbol of endurance. Her career may have been built on appearance, but her legacy now includes courage. The broader conversation. Evangelista's admission sparked broader discussions about the hidden risks of cosmetic procedures, mental health in high-pressure industries, ageism in fashion, the unrealistic expectations placed on women. It also highlighted how quickly public perception can shift when someone speaks honestly. Rather than diminishing her, her vulnerability expanded her influence. A new chapter. While she may never return to modeling at the relentless pace of the 90s, she doesn't need to. Her presence carries weight precisely because of what she endured. The supermodel who once represented untouchable glamour now represents something far more relatable: humanity. And perhaps that's more powerful. Final thoughts. When Linda Evangelista said she felt disposable, she wasn't just describing a personal low point. She was articulating a fear many people share but rarely voice: the fear of being replaced, overlooked, or deemed irrelevant. But her story doesn't end there. It continues, not in the flashbulbs of runway chaos, but in quiet resilience. She proved that even when identity feels shattered, it can be rebuilt. Not perfectly, but honestly. And in a world obsessed with flawless surfaces, honesty may be the most beautiful thing of all.